Okay, so not to be too much in hyperbole right now. This is the coolest thing about Android that we're about to go over.
Really?
Yeah. It is
the coolest.
It is the coolest thing that is a part of the Android architecture.
Okay. Well, then without hyperbole, why? Why is it so cool?
Because this is what makes the difference between your phone doing a thing and you having control over the entire ecosystem of what your phone can do.
Okay, so you're saying we go from functionality to awareness.
Kind of more than yeah. Awareness is a good way to put it.
Okay.
It's even more powerful than awareness, though.
Okay.
Because with this, you can command. It's not just about being aware. It's about then basically getting other people's code to run at your disposal.
Like other applications?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So let's say I wanted to make an application, and I was like, oh, I really like Google Maps. I don't really want to write a whole map application. I can just make Google Maps do what I want to do.
So you basically can import the functionality of Google Maps into your own application,
and to a certain extent, control Google Maps.
I like where this is going.
Yeah, like you didn't like it's great because even better than that. So let's say Google Maps started to really suck. It was just really bad. And then someone wrote something way better than Google Maps where you could put on a VR headset and fly through it and all this crazy stuff, right?
Right.
You wouldn't even have to change your code. Your code would still use whatever that is.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're making your code future safe in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's again, okay, I'll stop being too excited about it, but it's really cool. So here we have a bunch of items that we set up before that are verbs, right? Do nothing, visit this web page, call someone, take a picture, right? These are all functionality. These are all things that people have already done on their phone, right? They have a camera app, they have Google Maps, they have a web browser. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually use those other applications, but not in the way that we've been using our activities. In our activities, we've been saying specifically run this class. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to say run something that does something like this. So
run like almost a generic.
Yes, yeah. Run a web browser.
Okay.
Not run, right. Chrome.
Yeah.
So the user still has some control saying like, look, I don't use Google Maps. I use my cool like Fly VR integrated map application. And so they still have a little bit of choice in how to use your app. Okay.
And for Android users who are familiar with this, it's that thing of choose which, and then you get to choose like for all time or just use once.
Yeah. And what's going to be amazing is you're going to see me make something really robust here, but it's so simple. It's like so little code to do something that complex and hard. You need to know a lot about what the application is. And so here we have, we're using our switch. This is a really great example of switch. This is not a great example of how to set up data because we just have zeros and ones and there's a list of items over there. I think I was just too excited when doing the demo to really do it properly. I just wanted to get to it.
How should they do it at home? Should they make that a little bit better?
You'd want your case to be like the enumerators again, so that you could read what case 0 meant to be selected.
Okay. So you would set up enumerators to say what case, like assign case 0 to.
Yeah, or you do something that would actually refer to like this item array, so you could kind of tell. So here we are. We're going to specify some different things here. We're going to pick an action. Okay. Which is basically just a string that describes for the activity we're going to start. Kind of what are you going to be doing? In this case, we're going to be viewing. And then we're going to actually I missed that. So in this case, we're giving a URI. So
not a URL.
Not a URL, a URI. So this is a resource location that supposedly whatever gets this will know how to use. So we're saying, hey, somebody view this location. And we know from reading it that it's a web address, but the computer doesn't know that. Your device doesn't know that. And that's all we had to do for that to set that up. And we're going to go through some other kind of examples of that too. So here, again, new intent, different way of doing things. I'm going to do an action again. And again, you see all these kind of like actions that come with things. Action dial.
Mm-hmm.
Dreaming started and stopped. You saw that?
Interesting.
Yeah. And again, we're going to use a URI.
So I'm just noticing that implicit intent is remaining gray, and we also have, a red underline semicolon on line 69. And you're leaving these things kind of as is.
Because I just want to go over like the different kind of implicit intents first, and then we're going to use it. But this is just selecting what we're going to do. So here, right, instead of HTTP, we have tel as in a telephone number.
Mm-hmm.
So the action is dial, and it's use this location.
So we've got reach out to a web address. We've got reach out to a telephone number.
To Jenny, 867-5309. And now, I mean, this is a real common one because, writing your own map application is not always good. There's some real full-featured ones out there. People tend to like their map application. I'm not going to use view or dial. Oh, maybe I am going to use view. Okay, I misspoke. I'm going to use view.
And really, we would like to, find a map location of YetSpace, since YetSpace is such a happening place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here we're using a geo, right? So for geolocation apps.
And with geo, you need to turn on your Genymotion's GPS emulator.
Yep. I actually really love this part of this emulator. It's really awesome that you can just say, yeah, pretend that my phone's here.
There we are. Live in the studios of Learnovate Labs.
The 912 Congress address. I don't know why I'm selecting that. Oh, right, because I'm going to pass it in. I wasn't actually using the... That is a really cool feature, but here I'm just using it to look it up. And I love that you can even just set the altitude and all that kind of stuff for Genymotion. But so these are all defined. You can go to the Android docs and you can see what kind of different ones are available. Or you can even create your own. You can say like, oh, I'm creating a new implicit intent. It's
and you get all of this functionality just by saying it's going to be an implicit intent.
Yeah.
But I just see intent. I don't see implicit intent. Other than the fact
that I called it implicit intent. So what do you mean by that? Like
you're creating a new intent, but how is this just different from the intents you created in the previous exercises?
Well, that might be something that'll be easier to see when I'm actually using it.
Okay.
So basically, right now, what program is going to run for the Delta program piece? You don't know. You don't know. You don't care.
Okay.
That's the difference about it being implicit.
Okay.
Explicit would be run Chrome.
Right.
This is saying run something that knows how to handle this data.
Okay.
And here you can even specify like more specific locations. So here I'm actually saying like in the Android media action image capture, that's what I want. Like okay. I'm not even specifying an action and then parsing a URI. I'm just being like, hey, do this thing that's a registered action that you can take on the Android OS.
And so whatever camera app that would be in image capture would have in their manifest access to the image capture. That's what would launch eventually.
That one actually is a little bit more explicit, but it's still an implicit intent. Because I'm specifically referring to Android media action, so the user would have to change that. I mean, we can we can even like specify, not just go someplace, but we can specify a more vague kind of content type, and with that action, we can say not only go to this user, I want to edit this particular piece of content. Mm-hmm. So just kind of showing you all the different ways that we can use one, and there's plenty more. There's tons of ways to do this, but yeah,
I'm getting the sense now that the application has now that you are creating this, right? Your activity has the ability to reach out not only into other activities, but into the functionality of the entire ecosystem of the Android operating system,
Yeah.
including any other pre-installed applications, including anything on the internet.
Including anything that hasn't been installed yet. You can make an intent, go and say, hey, if the person has this app, use that.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I'll do something instead for them.
Okay. So even just suggesting, hey, maybe you want to get this app.
People use this a lot for selling their own apps.
How so?
Well, you can say like, oh, I have some functionality that works with this.
Mm-hmm.
And you could say, I can go ahead and use an implicit intent to suggest, oh, use the geo thing. But maybe if I have my own geo application, right, I can change my implicit intent to be a little bit more specific, or only use the implicit intent if I detect that my application's installed to make them play nice. Sometimes people want them to use a specific application, and they'll use implicit intents to allow the user to use a backup application if they don't have the latest cool application that they want.
There you caught the little red line I was noticing before.
Yeah,
it's just a missing parenthesis.
Yeah,
that happens.
I'm not perfect.
Yeah, thank God.
So here we go. It's gonna be cool. We're also gonna see an issue. It's gonna be great. So do nothing. No. Now let's do something.
Let's call someone.
Yeah.
Let's reach out and call Jenny.
Internationally, I think. So
So
there we go.
It populated not only brought you to your phone dialer, but it also populated the number.
And when you go back, you go back to us.
Yeah. Takes control of the user's experience a little bit.
Now, see, here we have an issue.
Bang.
Map of yet space. Wasn't so happy there.
No.
That's why I asked that question. Is intent available? No activity found to handle the intent. So I actually don't know why on GetEmotion that is. It might be that I think my formatting for the intent is correct. I think it might just not have a map application installed. So here's the way, having done this a million times, here's the way to just make this problem go away. And it's another even cooler part of implicit intents. I'm not going to use it for a cool reason right now. I'm just going to use it as a safety thing. But you can just start inquiring, kind of like this, like film noir detective, and just start asking, like, well, who can anybody do this?
Is this available? Film noir detective. That was quite the analogy.
Yeah, that was
you went way out there.
Yeah. I want to say that I'm sorry, but I feel pretty good about it.
I'm willing to go with it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see where it takes us.
So using this, you could actually just start looking for crazy stuff. Like you can start looking for, I don't know. I mean, you can tell when the thing has been rebooted. You can look at when the battery power is low. I mean, you can really start to respond to tons of different things. And this is just a cool way where you can query, what's available.
Where does resolve info come from?
Well, resolve info is a data type that this package manager query intent activities is going to give us.
Okay.
And it's, I'm just taking a look at it there. I think of validating what parameters it actually needs. And the resolve infos are these objects that will like give us some data about activities. They're not activities themselves. They're just kind of like a small data class that tells you about them.
Okay. But it's not something you created. It's something that comes.
No, it's a part of the SDK. Yeah.
Is intent safe?
Yeah, so I'm just saying basically, hey, with this intent, how many activities will, be able to react to this? If it's more than 0, then it's safe to use.
Got it. So if it were 0, then it's not intent safe. So how do you handle that case?
Well, I mean, it just means there's nothing, you can fire off that intent, nobody's going to respond to it. So you'd handle that by either giving the user feedback or implementing the thing
You
yourself.
don't have an app that works for this. And, hey, by the way, we make one.
We make one. Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
You could just make an app that just all it does is ask like, hey, do you have one of these? I made one of those. Hey, do you have one of these? I made one of those. That'd be great. Just an app that just kind of like sells your own apps.
That would be, clearly another one that we have to take a 15% cut from.
Yeah. Wait, 15? Then I went up to like 15.5.
Well, last time we said 16 for negotiation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. See, here I'm just giving the user feedback. So, because, we already went over design. You don't want someone pressing a button and being like, is this thing broke?
Mm-hmm.
So we're just going to be real friendly like and be like, you know what? There's no application available for that.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's real neighborly.
Don't take advantage of your ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yet.
Yeah. And again, that kind of inspires an action. Like, what? I need to get an application.
I
wonder if anybody's selling one. And so we're going to go after writing our cool utility class. Just making sure the code was still there.
Mm-hmm. So we didn't fix the location.
No, see, no application available. Because there's no map application. That's what we didn't fix. Yeah, see, this is cool. Like, a camera app. How do I work with Surface Geo? I was like, no, just like do that. And you can make it so that you could do a return. So like, hey, go to the camera app, and when the person's done with it, give me the picture.
Yeah, nice. And then you can just use their picture
and they get to use their picture app. I mean, if they're like, oh, well, I have like this crazy like Bluetoothy thing that connects to an array of cameras and then consolidates an HDR image on my phone, right? That hasn't even been written yet.
That was a lot of fancy terminology.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
For all those photographers out there, they'll understand that. But yeah, so you have a fancy camera app, and you want to use that, so you use that one instead.
And if it's not even written yet, this application will still work, right?
Right.
It'll pop up with a choice for them.
Right. Because that will be one of the choices that that camera app will supposedly register for that
implicit intent.
Implicit intent, yeah.
And I bet you're wondering, how do I register for an implicit intent?
I am kind of, yeah.
Well, I'm about to show you.
Really? How kind of you.
This is
Sheem.
This is inspired by Hazeman because he works for Tumblr, and he did something really neat. Where on Tumblr, if you use Tumblr's app on your phone and someone clicks on a Tumblr blog, it'll open up the detail activity of the native application instead of just a web view. It'll give you that option. So you can kind of like hijack if someone goes to a certain web address, which is what we're responding to now. We're saying, hey, if someone is asking for an HTTP thing and it happens to be deltaprogram.us, well, and they want to view it, which is what the web browser is doing when you actually go. Well, we do that actually. We want to register for that.
Ah, okay.
This is a great trick for, again, if you want to get people from your website to visit your application if they're very closely tied.
In the intent filter, you're setting up the almost like a listener.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like a listener. Right, because you can't override the phone behavior yet, but this is just registering for like, hey, this is what I'd like to register for. I particularly like this one. There's a bunch of different ways to do it.
What's the category thing? That's like these category Android name.
The browsable and default.
Yeah.
Well, there's different ways to categorize an intent. One is through the action. Category is just another piece of metadata that allows you to be specific about what you respond to.
Okay.
Because you definitely want your application to respond to things that you want to respond to. You don't want it to respond to events that really are not what you're about and capable of handling.
Right.
Okay. So now that we've created now we've registered to be an implicit intent. It wouldn't be appropriate to just be like, oh yeah, run my app. Because we should do something functional, right? We signed up for we respond to the deltaprogram.us thing.
We took on the responsibility. We should own up to it.
Yeah. Here I am. I think I'm thinking about how I'm supposed to do that again. So
maybe possibly considering shirking the responsibility, just shutting down your laptop.
I'm out. Good night.
Implicit intent receiver.
Yeah. So notice that we're not on the one that launches our application, right? All these activities are kind of independent. We're on our second activity, actually.
Oh, yeah, I just noticed that.
So this is on the onCreate. What I'm saying is I'm going to get that intent that started us, and I'm going to ask, hey, did this come from the first activity, or was somebody specifically browsing for deltaprogram.us?
Oh, so if they were not even in our application, they were on the web browser, and they went and typed in deltaprogram.us, we could pick up on that.
We could.
That's brilliant.
In fact, we're gonna hijack that right now. So just make sure it's not even null, but also
this is what happens whenever I try to go to LinkedIn and they're like, you don't have our application yet.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Well, this is how you do it.
Okay.
This is how you.
Well, now I can be just as evil as LinkedIn.
Yeah. I mean, it's but you do pick up on an important thing, which is it's important to do this respectfully because it is very powerful, and it's something I think that Android's gotten a lot of criticism over people that try to abuse this in the App Store or the Play Store. So you need to be respectful because, you want people to like your app because they have 24 hours to return it.
Right.
So here we are. Notice I'm doing the get data. I'm not using the things we were using before. I'm getting the URI. I'm not getting the bundle.
Oh, okay.
This is another way that you can move data around.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just like, hey, show in our view what that data was. In this case, it was the URI. Get data always returns the URI. So if you want to send other data, you got to use the bundles and actual
unpack it.
So let's see if this works the first time.
Dun dun dun.
Are you excited about this?
I'm super excited. I'm also busy writing a letter to LinkedIn.
Did I forget something, or am I double checking? No, I'm just double checking.
Yeah. You want it to work the first time.
I do. Oh no, I missed a tag. See, I'm so excited for this one because
you failed to nest.
Yeah.
Appropriately.
Yeah, it's really important to make sure you always do the indents correctly, because otherwise it's really hard to see those issues.
Yeah.
You can just stare at that stuff for 10 minutes being like, I don't understand.
And also with this weird XML kind of like some the nested tags end with a certain slash and and the other ones don't, and you get confused.
Okay, here we go. So it says do nothing, right?
Mm-hmm. Call someone. Bam.
Calling Jenny. Well, screw it. Our app is done.
Kill it.
Now this would work even if our app hadn't been run recently. So we're going to go to deltaprogram.us.
There it is.
Something's not working.
We didn't interrupt.
Well, there is probably something that wasn't registered correctly for that browser. But watch what happens if I click an actual link. Now it asks us for our particular application. There's one other component that you need to put in to hijack the actual web browser itself.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad we're not giving that secret away right now.
No, not yet.
Yeah.
So if we go to google.com, though, this is a different behavior for the browser, right? Mm-hmm. So let's check this out.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So that's a mystery.
So now we just learned something about how the browser works, right? When you put something into the URL bar, it's not firing off an intent, but when you click a link, it is.
Ooh, that's good to know.
Yeah.